Previously on Castaway 2000.
Could do a job, but he won't do.
Shouting doesn't help.
Staying in fucking bed till 3 o'clock.
I was so close to getting clocked by Ray this morning. Porrick was probably even closer to getting slapped by the fella tonight.
Ray! Sit down! Sit down! Ray!
Stop it! No!
It's not fair for him to then go, all those little young effers, they never get up in the morning. I've got to get them up every single morning. They don't do a day's work.
Don't tell me, you lazy bastard.
The fucking Sunday, Ray. It's none of your fucking business. You
Oh, right, yeah,
fucking
exactly.
Come on.
If they haven't got their own respect to go, then they should be off. Simple as that.
It's the morning after the night before, and Ray makes an appearance.
What?
It is, Ray. There's been a scuffle. There's been a scuffle, but we need all to talk about it.
Well, you had a bit to drink last night. A few things were said, and then you sort of stormed off and things like that. But anyway, we can sort it out this morning. If we
need to
explain
talk about it, Ray.
Yeah.
We really need to. We really need to confront it. But we're not. It's not a witch hunt, Ray. No one's saying, you know, we want Ray off the island. It's not like that. But we need to talk about it because it needs to be controlled, and that's really important, Ray.
I shouldn't drink whiskey.
No.
I think Ray's going to be feeling really pissed off with himself. He'll feel as if he's let himself down. He'll feel as if he's let everybody else down, and really, as a group, we've got to forgive and forget.
Do you remember Porrick? Remember talking to Porrick?
No, not really.
I suppose it was upsetting in a way. I didn't take anything personally. Ray's not a vicious man. It was an argument that got out of hand, and I wasn't prepared to concede a point that I didn't think deserved to be conceded or ignored.
And he genuinely didn't have a recollection of anything that had happened last night. He had not a clue. And he came up and said, "I'm so sorry," and gave me a big hug and everything, and I feel all better now. And everyone sort of said, "Well, that shouldn't be enough, really. It shouldn't have happened." I know certain people will not be as forgiving, but I can't help it. I do forgive.
This morning, I heard footsteps on the steps outside, and suddenly the door opened and in came Ray. And I thought for a second he was going to beat me up, but Tanya came in after him with a camera, and he knelt down in the bed and he says, "Porrick, I'm sorry, forgive me." And I apologised, shook hands, and walked out, and it was a very surreal wake-up call.
What happened again?
No hard feelings on my part, and I hope there's none on his, but sure, if there is, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not going to make excessive allowances for anyone. I think everyone should make allowances for people who need them, but only to a certain point. And I'm not going to concede at such a point with Ray, ever.
If he continues to do that, and it happens more than once again, then I think he's got to seriously look at maybe not making the year on the island.
We've all got to spend the next 11 solid months with each other. And I hope last night didn't ruin it.
It's now 3 weeks into the project, and the castaways on the island take delivery of their first livestock, an event that forces them to face up to the realities of providing for themselves.
So I think we'll get to know them quite well as well, feeding them twice a day and bringing them, and they're going to be living in front of the steading and kind of walking past each day. So I'm sure we're going to get to know individual faces, and I think that will make it even harder. All the sheep have been named after all of the Tatler girls, which I think is a compliment. I don't know, sorry. Sorry, girls. I think that's really nice. I'd be really flattered if I had an animal named after me. Admittedly, they're supposed to be for eating, but I'm going to try and stop that. Because you have to put the gun, like, to their head. It'll be like, hello George, Michael, Hillary, Wendy. Wendy, where's Wendy?
How can you eat them? They're too sweet. I don't want to see the sheep ever again. I'll get very upset.
The sheep may have found their new home, but the castaways are still waiting for theirs to be finished. Work on the accommodation units, nicknamed the pods, is almost finished, but until then, 18 castaways are living in cramped conditions with the builders. The others are still across on the mainland, waiting for the accommodation to be finished and recovering from illness.
There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of, when is this really going to get going? Simply because things haven't really turned out quite as we'd like them to have done.
All of our dreams about being on the island and forging this community are just so fragile. It's like a glass would break if you dropped it.
I need to get across on the island. We're cut off over here, at least I feel that way. And we've just been here for too long.
I'm bored and I want to be on the island.
I'm very frustrated, very annoyed, and quite upset.
I'm just hoping that very soon everything that seems to have turned against us is going to start working with us.
I know it's not my fault because things have not been in place for me to stay on the island and be ill, but there's still a massive feeling of failure.
Back on the island, the difficult living conditions and the burden of carrying on with the project until the others arrive is taking its toll.
Tempers are starting to fray a bit. I mean, we had that massive argument, not I didn't, but there was the massive argument last weekend between Trisha and Peter over dogs.
My dogs weren't worrying the sheep. My dogs were rounding up the sheep. They weren't worrying the sheep.
Rounding up sheep that don't need rounding up is worrying sheep. Sorry.
I'm telling you now, both of my dogs are never out together. As from today, when I was hanging out some wet washing, it took me 2 weeks to get washed. And that was the only time I seen my dogs rounding up the sheep. And they were not worrying the sheep. They were doing what came naturally, and that was rounding up the sheep.
Things have been kicking off in the last week or so. And all the niceties and pleasant facades are certainly down.
You don't have dogs, you don't have sheep, that is your experience. No, don't finish, I'm going to finish. That is my experience. My dogs were rounding up the sheep but came naturally, they were not worrying the sheep.
I'm not, it's not a personal thing.
It's one day,
the personal thing, let me finish.
One day,
let me finish.
One day. And that's from tomorrow, my dogs will be under control, they'll be on the lead, and that's it. But don't say my dogs worry sheep because they don't.
That's a good example, really, of just how living on top of each other like this without having any way where you can go is starting to get a little bit draining.
I'm not going to be penciled in as an ogre. There are certain things that I happen to believe in that may be different to you.
No.
If I can either do it behind your back or I can raise it in public like this. But I'm not going to be penciled in as the big, bad, grumpy male. I am doing it here.
We have meetings
I am
every
doing
night
it here.
You should raise your points here every
I
night.
am.
Instead of bitching behind all our backs.
That's an overreaction. It's because when I actually raise it, I get this nonsense. I get a total emotional scene.
I'll tell you what.
It's because
the one thing that I hope that I'm capturing is the huge waves of emotion that we ride here.
I hope we all learn something from this, and I hope we never have another weekend where I have to see two people crying. All it is treating others as you'd like to be treated yourself, and it's courtesy and it's manners, and that's all I ask.
Next morning, Trish and Peter reflect on last night's disagreement.
I've just been down to the steading for some milk, and Peter came up, gave me a big hug and loads of kisses. And last night it felt false when he gave me a hug, but it was really genuine, and he apologised, and I apologised to him, and then had a wee tear.
you can get into long-running undercurrents and resentments, and that will be very divisive and divide a camp. So it's better to have a short-run bit of conflict to sort of open up the issue so that we can move on.
Yeah, it has cleared the air, actually. I think it has cleared the air. And I'm glad, you know, so... Till the next time, we'll see what happens.
On a lighter note, hopefully the rest of the people are going to be joining us on the island this week.
The buildings are finished, and those who were ill have recovered. So after a month on the mainland, the remaining castaways can finally take up their places on the island. Relieved to be escaping from the attention of the press, they can now put all the delays behind them and join the rest of their community.
So it's going to go from chaos to more
To more
chaos.
It's been lots of false starts for an Olympic marathon. We've now actually heard the gun and we're actually on our way now. The 20 years, or in my case 58 years, it's all behind me now and I'm starting something completely different.
We've missed you too.
Oh, it's just nice for everybody to be here at long last. Thanks.
Oh.
It's great to be home. Absolutely fantastic.
The specially designed pods are at last ready to be occupied. Time now to sort out who is going to sleep where.
I like this room. I like that one in there. I think it's gorgeous.
The view's tempting, Tanya. Really is.
But you can't have it because I want it. But I'm having it. But I want it. Fight. Fight.
Well, this one or the other one. I would love.
Yeah, well, it's all democratic.
Because what I was going to do was suggest that we categorise people either by saying that they had a room preference, or they've got a people preference, they'd rather be in a certain group, or they're in a don't mind.
This is why I don't.
The first full group meeting is held to allocate accommodation. For the younger members, their priority is to be together.
We went for pod 1, which is, by general consensus, the least desired pod.
It's the furthest away from.
You disagree?
I mean, I personally would like to be in a front room of pod 1. If 8 people suddenly have sort of done a deal.
We're loud. Whatever. We're youngsters. We get drunk sometimes. We're not saying this because this is just what we want, but also we're trying to think about the community aspect and not annoying people and not having to be told, shut up, really.
No, I understand that. I understand that. Yeah. I understand that.
Is that right?
Who stays in the old farmhouse is the next issue to be resolved.
I think we'd like to be in the Mackay house, but not with 20 other people. I mean, I don't think any other family wants to be there, so obviously somebody else, whoever wants to be there. I mean, everybody wants to live in the pod. Everybody does, right. Well, we'll have the whole house then. I mean, it seems a bit, if that's possible.
The Stevensons have not committed to staying on the island until they're sure their space is as they want it. But even if they do stay, there's a question whether the month's separation and their choice of accommodation the other side of the paddock will lead to further problems.
I suppose my worry now is we just will never actually be part of this community. We have been with the other families, and so already we have our own community going, and now the big challenge is getting the two groups together and seeing how that works. So I am sort of anxious as well. I think there's going to be a difficult few weeks ahead as we try and sort of come together.
For some of the castaways who've been roughing it on the island for the past month, moving into individual accommodation may not be a good thing.
The others who've just come over, they've moved straight into their private pods, and they won't have quite the same bonding that we were lucky to have.
In some ways, it's really sad to sort of break it up into the individual pods, but in another way, it's quite a pleasant thing to get your own space.
We've had more tears. I'll agree with that. We've had of a few arguments here and there, and people haven't been as civil as maybe they would have been. But that's just par for the course, isn't it?
The Stevensons leave Tarrant on the last helicopter. Once they're happy, their room is sorted. They plan to return on the next available boat. The first night in the new accommodation brings new problems. 120-mile-per-hour winds hit the site and rip the roof off one of the pods. The next day, it's a battle against the elements to fix it.
Last night was like being wrecked at sea, or in the process of being wrecked. The wind was howling so much that the whole place was vibrating. The floors were shaking, the roof was heaving, the water was pouring in through the door.
Liz, Jazz! Hello! How are you?
What? I'm bloody scary. I don't know what your pod was like, but our one was just like a...
It's like you've lost parts of your roof as well.
Which bit have we lost?
Above Ray's room.
Above Ray's room? Aye, aye, aye. Are you sure Ray wasn't just doing a bit of tinkering and maybe it's just come apart?
A room with a view, but you can't look at it.
Jesus, that's rough, isn't it?
Well, I've nicknamed the pod now.
Yeah.
We're calling it Turbulence.
What's happening today then? Are we working or flying kites?
For the new arrivals, it's a harsh introduction.
Colin went for a wee off the veranda, and you've heard the expression pissing in the wind. I'm sorry, Mother. I promised not to swear for the whole year, and I've had to do it. It's a true expression. Colin had a wee straight back in the face. Now that all the castaways are together, except for Roger and Rosemary, who are coming over any day now, the majority of us now are here, and it just seems like the weather's held off for us, and Tarrant said, right, that's it, you've had your good weather, now you're going to get it. And we did, we got it, big style.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful day.
I've never known weather like it.
My hair yesterday was just a big...
It is a magical place. It's harsh. She can be a bit of an old bag at times.
You can lean right into the wind and just stand there leaning into it. It's so wild.
It's raining, it's muddy, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm freezing my ass off in Tarrant.
All the castaways are finally together as the Stevensons come to stay for good. But they haven't got off to the best start. In their rush to get a room in the house ready, they've upset the previous tenants.
It's like you've had a burglar in your house or a hurricane's just ripped through it or something. Well, I can't believe it. It looks like a council rubbish tip. And, you know, those are my belongings in there. They're all covered in sand. I had to borrow a sleeping bag from someone last night. I mean, you know, not being able to get your sleeping bags, a bit of a pisser, really.
It's so much more stylish doing it this way. Yeah, it's the real way to be cast away.
Coming in and doing this is just outrageous. They are anxious that they want to get moved in here as quickly as possible, but doing it at the cost of other people isn't on.
Time to get unpacked and get going.
We've all been living rough. Do you know what I mean? We're fortunate we've been here before Rosemary, and I'm sure there's things that they've wanted done. But this is just... I just find it quite disrespectful, really.
I've eventually found my sleeping bag buried underneath all this. I mean, that is just a brand new sleeping bag. It's not even dirty. And they just come in and, you know, chuck it in. It's not even in a plastic bag or anything. Couldn't believe it. So not at all amused about that.
Jesus, weird.
It's an ominous start for the last arrivals.
My stuff all been buried because my sleeping bag took 2 nights to find it. It was
it
buried
buried?
under 3 of the beds.
Well, we didn't do that because we put all your stuff
on one bed,
Right.
very carefully.
It was right underneath. But the other thing is I can't find one of my other sleeping bags, which was in the room.
Right.
And I've no idea where it's gone.
Right. Well, everything, the only stuff that we moved, everything remained in
that room.
In the other room.
It doesn't surprise me that he slung all his stuff in one room, didn't give a toss, because he wasn't over here looking after us when we were all ill for so many days. They decided to wait until everything was virtually perfect to come in, so that's not community spirit. They weren't in the advance party, that ain't community spirit. I know there could have been reasons. One of them could have come up at least, say, shown the face for a week or so. So as far as I'm concerned, no, it doesn't surprise me.
Everybody's got to help themselves and help each other, and we've all got to do that, or else there will be unhappiness amongst people who feel that not everybody's putting an equal share.
Having lost precious time, the Castaways now start the job of building the community for real. One of the main tasks is planting crops and preparing for the rest of the animals to arrive. But a priority is to prevent any further damage to the accommodation units by cutting the turfs to put on the pod roofs.
Actually, it makes me... All I want to do when I'm out here is sing. I don't know if you saved me, I keep singing away. But each turf I'm turning over, it's a little thought of home. I pick out individuals for each turf. Okay, this one's young Reynolds. This one, that's my eldest boy. You know, I've done mums, I've done the rest of them. When I finish Reynolds, I'm on with the grandchildren then.
We want to do it tonight because we hear that tomorrow the 10-year wind is arriving, 120, 130 miles an hour. And if we're not ready for tomorrow, then we may kiss the pod goodbye. And we'll be moving into pod 1 with the youngsters.
We're happy we're on Terrace Day because...
The children are also getting down to work as term starts. Lessons will be in the farmhouse until the schoolhouse is ready. Former primary teacher Julie Lowe is taking on the full-time job with many volunteers keen to lend a hand.
And the kids just are brilliant because they seem to accept it all. They don't quite realise the degree of chaos around them. And they're mucking in really well. I'm very proud of them.
I think everyone's integrating quite well, actually. If you think back, yeah, it's more noisy, it's more chaotic, and there's more kids screaming around the place, but you don't particularly notice that everyone wasn't here before.
Oh, the kids, they get everywhere, absolutely everywhere. They're always, Toby, 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 and like, yeah. They're really nice kids, but kids are kids, and they sure are tiring.
I think they're a bit happy to be here. You know, there's a lot of smiling faces for the change. And I know I might not tend to shout a bit now, because I think everybody is realising that this is the real world, not that one out there.
There are a couple of people who don't seem to know the meaning of the word work, which should be interesting, and see how that pans out, but apart from that, everyone's working pretty hard.
After 160 man-hours cutting 1,600 turfs, the turfing teams celebrate completing the first of the pod roofs. But with 3 roofs still to be done, tensions are developing over priorities, work rates and attitudes towards work.
There's people that aren't pulling the weight on what I feel is a very important project. And yeah, we're talking of Ron, because, you know, Ron hasn't done any turfing, although he's promised to do turfing.
Now, those people don't know that, you know, the day before last, I'm in the polytunnels planting all day. They don't realise that 2 days before that, I'm completing the chicken shed so all the chickens can come over.
He's found other jobs to do, which are not so important.
You know, I don't go around, you know, mouthing off to everybody what I'm doing, because I don't think it's any of their business.
There is a kind of a strain just below the surface between
certain factions in the community where some people think you should jump out of bed at 9 o'clock in the morning, rush down to the steady and have your breakfast and appear for work at 10 o'clock and be ready to slave until 4. And I didn't actually come here to be dictated to.
My measure of a person is pretty much the measure of their work ethic.
There's just zapping around at 150 miles an hour, even making a cup of tea. He dashes around the kitchen, tea bag, you know. It's like, Des, slow down.
Des is definitely the hardest worker here. Works harder than me, I'll be honest. He's prepared to put in more hours than anybody else. He'll take the crappiest jobs and he'll see them through to the end.
It's just, I don't like to be around him at the moment. He's, you know, out there proving himself in a way that I don't quite understand.
I'm sure Ron would say that Des is a complete control freak and wants to organise everyone and, you know, Ron will have some psychological aspect on it, some psychological angle that you can say, oh, Des is being ultra macho and all this, that and the other because it accounts for the fact that he's only 5'6" or some bollocks like that. But really, you know, it's just getting it done. It's not being lazy. That's what it's all about. We've got to get it done. The sooner we do all these 4 pods, the sooner we can, not sit back, but the sooner we can say, right, now that's out of the way. Let's concentrate on growing for a little bit. Then the growing comes through. And then in the summer, let's concentrate on, you know, other aspects.
It's becoming blatantly obvious that different people have different objectives and reasons for being here. And so they're all going off in their different directions. And I think, you know, people are getting on fairly well and stuff. But the lack of an overall common goal for the year for this group of people is obvious. You know, if you normally went up and set up a community, you'd be doing it because you all wanted to, and you'd all probably have similar aims in mind. Whereas here, people, some of them want to write, some of them want to grow vegetables, some of them want to learn how to film, and I think all those different reasons for being here are becoming more and more obvious as the days go by.
But the community joined together for the first birthday on the island, Tammy Huff's 27th.
Only 2 weeks ago we had so much whiskey and so much wine and so much beer, and now there's nothing. When you really need it, there's nothing around. It's peculiar, isn't it? You know, we're all here, have a tiny slot of whiskey, and that's it for the night. Sharing a can between 30 people.
Passing around a can of lager and taking a sip each.
I know, only having a snippy. You were having a sip? Oh my God, I was just doing that.
And last night, I finished the last of my booze.
The bottles start off like this and end up like
this in the space of maybe one night. As soon as it's opened,
gone.
I'm going to have to put about 12 bolts on this door when I get the brewing going. I'll have to board myself in.
This is my last bottle, full stop, so we might as well have a nip of it now.
I'm well stocked up with these. They make 40 pints a time.
Slange.
Slange.
And then what I do, I transfer that into the barrel and then I bang another one in quick because you've got to have a good supply, you know.
Backup plan. This is my emergency bag. And
it's not a colostomy bag.
you can see it's full of beer. Well, the ingredients to make beer. So 20 pints in there, and that'll be ready in about 10 days.
It's 11 o'clock. Normally I'd be out on my tree, hugging people I don't know, telling them that I love them, and it was great seeing them again. And now I'm not. It's been fantastic. The only thing that I really wish was that I could just bring my family here, just so they could be here and appreciate it. But
when I got my post the other day and started reading letters from friends who were telling me all about what they're getting up to in London, it didn't make me homesick, it just made me friend sick and family sick.
I woke up this morning and I just got completely confused. I thought I was in my bedroom back at home, and I tried to switch the light on and then I suddenly remembered where I was, mainly because my toes were so cold. And I think that's the first time really that I got that missing home feeling in my stomach.
When we receive our mail, it's really exciting, and there's a good feeling, and everyone's, you know, have I got any letters, have I got any letters? And I was like this one day, but you forget that bad news can also carry on at home as well as good. And unfortunately, my grandparents were burgled while they were in the middle of the night. And it's just such, you know, you forget that things like that happen living here, because we're all so safe in our little community, we look after each other.
You know, you often think about where you were in the city or where you lived before you came here. And how can you go back to a concrete jungle after you've seen this? I really don't know how.
The arrival of the animals is another stage in the forming of the community. Eventually, the Castaways will have 3 cows, 1 pony, 40 chickens, 100 sheep, and 13 pigs.
Totally different feel now, there's animals here. Really strange, but nice.
More like a working community now. Animals will need priority in terms of looking after. I mean, they have to be looked after in a certain way, and if they're not, then they're no good. So, rain, hail, or snow, they need to be looked after twice a day at certain times. So, yeah, it's all hands on deck at the moment. It's calm now, but things are really going to change.
I have a horrible feeling mayhem and panic may be about to break out, because there's been a meningitis scare. On the Isle of Harris, just across the water, there have been 6 cases of meningitis.
The community come together to discuss the outbreak. There's a direct link with Tarrantay. 2 of the cases are children of builders who worked on the island.
We are undoubtedly the centre of something very serious here. My anxiety, I'm a parent and husband as well as a doctor, and my anxieties are generated as much by emotional things as by the reality of what I know medically and what I'm advised medically, but I can't pretend not to be anxious at the moment.
The thought of meningitis is so frightening for us all.
I can't quite believe it's really real. And we've come so far away from all these concerns of ordinary life to be suddenly, wham, hit by this meningitis scare.
One of the biggest threats to us is that they could, in effect, close us down if they felt it was necessary. So it's a really, really major concern to us here, and we're very anxious about it.
Just 2 weeks after his arrival, Roger is at the centre of a medical crisis. He's kept updated via the emergency phone.
Oh, hello, Roger Stevenson from Tarrantay. Can you confirm what I think is the story?
I think instantly parents feel protective towards their kids. It's almost like, well, we've chosen to do this, we've put ourselves at risk on many levels, we've taken a huge risk. But when you're putting your kids at risk, you have all sorts of other emotions involved, like guilt. You know, I would never forgive myself if something happened to them because of the decision to come here. I mean, of course it could have happened anywhere, but somehow if something happened to them here, one would feel a lot worse.
I'm on the edge of evacuating right now. I don't want my kids' lives, and we're talking about lives, and here we're not talking about a couple of days of diarrhoea, we're talking about lives, and I don't want them in danger. And that's one reason why I spent a month waiting to prevent that sort of danger for them.
One of the unsettling things is we're so cut off here, we have no concept really of what the truth is. And suddenly we really need to know what's going on.
The Department of Public Health visit the island to test for carriers and offer advice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael George. I'm the Director of Public Health for the Western Isles and cover all the islands. We've got 12 inhabited islands here, 13 with you now. Now, if you're living in your own homes, I wouldn't be concerned about this at all. But because you're living here in crowded conditions, we're going to, with your permission, swab you all and give a 2-day course of antibiotic.
Can you open your mouth wide? Oh, that's good.
Everyone's tested. Results are expected in 5 days, but the advice to take antibiotics splits the community.
I'm, not happy about taking antibiotics, but if it was felt by the majority of the community that we should do it, then I would do it. I would go along with it. I would prefer to wait for the results of the swabs personally, because it might be not necessary for us to take them.
We should take it anyway, just for the kids alone. I think if we were all adults, this is just my opinion, I haven't got kids, but if we're all adults, then fair enough, we can, we can't.
I am in an impossible situation because as a person I don't want to take it, and as a professional I think you should all take it, but I don't know what to do.
So if you would...
Can you open your mouth? Please.
I'll open it eventually.
Come on, my lovely.
It's a bit like
Russian roulette, where you have a gun and you have a thing full, and maybe it's got 100 empty barrels, but there's one that has a bullet. How many people here would have a go on that? I personally wouldn't.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Pop round this way and get some light. Open up.
Okay.
You're not keen?
Yeah, okay. Does it matter if I had a coffee earlier?
We'll see. Okay. On the other side.
Let's remember that this drug turns all your body fluids orange. Every single body fluid is turned orange. Now what the hell is going on inside your body, okay? You say it's risk-free, it is not risk-free. From the public health point of view, you have to take the very safest possible line. 6 people have suffered this already, and we don't want any more. But I'm also a parent, and my children have never had antibiotics, and I never really wanted them to have antibiotics unless they were in a situation where it was absolutely, completely cast iron necessary.
Because a few people have said that they'll do what you do, just
Really?
to add pressure on you.
Well, several people said that if I didn't take, or I didn't give my family the meningitis prophylaxis, the antibiotics, then they wouldn't either. And it was a really extraordinary position to be in, and I simply had to get out of the group and talk it through with Rosemary.
Whatever the community decision, one person has already decided not to take the antibiotics.
I've taken 48 antibiotics up to now with the flu epidemic and that. I can't take any more.
If need be, Ray proposes to isolate himself on the other side of the island in a stone outhouse known as a bothy, where he will await the test results.
What I don't want is for us to say we're going to take it and then other people not take it. So I think if we were to say we are taking it, I'd want a pretty cast iron guarantee that everybody else is.
And that Ray would go to the bothy.
And that Ray would go to the bothy.
So let's have a show of hands who now is prepared to take it and send Ray to the bothy.
But is that unanimous? Though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. End of meeting.
Right then, I'll see you girls when I get back. Have a nice time. Nice to be a castaway. Right, I'll see you.
Take care.
Right.
Oh, I think he'll love it. He'll rather be there than here. And as he said last night, it's a holiday. No, this is what he came for. He wanted to catch fish and be a bit more survival, which I think a lot of us did. So I think he's quite glad that we've sent him to the bothy. No, he'll have fun.
We were prescribed these, which is a thing called rifampicin, which is a prophylactic drug to prevent meningitis.
But the really weird thing is that you take these antibiotics and they're supposed to, they make your wee a different colour.
So I thought I'd just have a little wait. Won't be a moment. It's meant to be orange, but we'll find out.
Kind of
off colour, I'd say.
A little bit, yeah.
You sure your kidneys are alright?
It smells fine now. Kidney,
Don't feel any pain.
Good smell?
It's alright. It's normal. Taste like?
I've tasted worse.
Oh, it tasted better.
Underneath the arch. Oh, that's better. Oh. It's only this bloody damn colour.
Look what colour it turned mine. Blue.
It's 3 days later, and the test results are back, far sooner than expected.
Has the news got to you that you're negative for meningitis?
Oh no, I didn't know. Oh, right, okay.
We're all negative for
Oh,
meningitis. And I think I would have had different views if I'd known it would be so quick. We had a very confident negative for everybody.
Oh, excellent.
This morning.
That's really good. Right. Oh, so Ray can come back.
Yes.
Volunteers set off to the other side of the island to let Ray know the news.
And we're going to tell Ray he's the only person... No, he's not the only person.
No.
We're going to tell Ray he's got the meningitis bug.
Do you think that could be a bit of a sick joke? Do you reckon we should go for, we've got it,
You
and he
keep doing
hasn't?
that to me on camera.
No, I'm just thinking it could be a bit...
Well, that's what I just said before, didn't you, Ray?
Okay,
All right,
so
we'll go for... We're sick.
And he
Ray's
is...
healthy. And they're taking off the healthy people to quarantine the island.
Yeah, and he's the only healthy one amongst us. Now, he's quite on the ball, Ray.
Oh,
for
yeah,
an old
very,
chappie,
very,
as
very
we say.
sharp.
So we might be able to blag him or we mightn't, but hopefully it'll be a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
Also, got us out of turfing for the day. Good result.
Okay.
So we're going in.
Let's do it.
Is completely ridiculous that we all took these antibiotics. I didn't want to take them, but we were forced to take them because it was a majority vote. If we'd only waited another 24 hours, we would have found this news and wouldn't have had to pump these drugs into our bodies.
Right?
Ray! Well, it's not here.
Obviously, it's already croaked.
I'm just glad we got the all clear. That's a good thing. It's quite worrying when it came out.
I think people were totally paranoid and overreacted, and just treat doctors like they're gods and do everything they tell them to do.
Tell us when he's here.
Hey, fucking hell.
Sorry, Ray. Listen.
This peace of mind. As soon as we took the first pill and the kids took the first spoonful, it was just peace of mind.
And I feel a bit angry and annoyed that I've had to do that to my body, and it was completely pointless.
So, have you got the clear?
Everybody's got the all clear.
So nobody's got it?
No one's got, not even 10% of us, which should have been like 3 of us.
Yeah, so it's surprising.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm not coming back. Right, I'm staying here.
We all took it, we're all negative, we're all in the clear. We went and got Ray back, and this crisis is over and done with, and nobody remembers it now. Although it was so big and it was so important at the time.
Crisis over, life returns to some kind of normality. Some of the younger members have taken on the responsibility of looking after the animals, which demands early mornings and commitment.
Oh, it's 8:15. We've been up an hour. Been up an hour waiting for it to get a bit lighter. And we've just given them some sheep pellets and some hay. Which is quite odd because I'm the only well, no, there's 2 of us who are vegetarians, and I don't know, I decided I'd like to feed them. I'm not going to think about the fact they're going on someone's table. I've lost my sheep. I'm quite sad actually because I had 17 and now I've got 16.
What's happened, Phil?
One of our girls is dead.
It's horrible. I was just collecting wood for the fire and suddenly noticed a little fluffy ball thing sticking out. It was the sheep.
What do you do?
What do you do with the dead sheep?
Listen, get it on a plate with 2 veg and roast potatoes.
Go away.
There's no good burying them, they should be in the pan. You know, all this meat going to waste, no wonder I'm going down to Nick.
They're not burying it, surely?
Burying it.
Really?
I think some folk are forming these bonds with the animals. And the vegetarians are included there, but that's fine because they will have to eat them. But when some of these other people find their favourite little chickens served up on a plate in front of them, it's going to be hard.
Colin Corrigan will have the job of slaughterman for the community.
Bone Scottish lamb, already said Welsh. Loin. And the veggies have got... What have they got?
We've got, oh no, we've forgotten about them. What are we going to
Pasta.
do?
Oh,
no!
I foresee people turning veggie, and I'm so worried. It will seem so disloyal to Colin, but I'm so worried because I think I might be one of them and I might be the first.
The next dilemma is about life, not death. One of the castaways came onto the island pregnant and has now gone into labour.
Puppy number 5 is arrived. Is a boy, and he's alive and kicking. It's so exciting. There. So cute.
Today's been a special day because all the puppies have been born, which you'll probably hear about. But at the same time, I'm really concerned that there are all sorts of implications with puppies. It's going to cause real problems if you've got all these puppies. Imagine a pack of 9. There will be 12 dogs circulating the area like a tribe, a pack of wolves.
What are you going to do with all the pups? I'm going to keep them. The castaways? Castaway pups.
I don't think we should keep them. Some people wanted to bring their dogs before, weren't allowed. It seems a bit daft to now have a few people having puppies, and they're hard to look after.
I'm going to have a little girl, and it's going to be called Floozy, which I think will be absolutely gorgeous. It's going to mean a big change back at home, because I am not going to be able to go back to the sort of job that I did before. But I didn't want to do that anyway.
We made rules about dogs, and we're sticking by them. And we don't want too many dogs here.
So if I was at home and I wanted to have another puppy, I would have a puppy. And, you know, regardless of what anyone says, I'm having a puppy.
I saw it kind of half in, half out, and just gave it a little gentle pull, and it just slipped out into my hands. And that's a first for me. That's never, ever happened before.
Should have drowned them at birth. Right, I've got to be going. Bye.
Tomorrow night on Castaway 2000, the argument about the puppies hots up.
I mean, it's a totally selfish thing. I really want one.
It's not really fair, actually, to keep any of them.
I find out that Roger and Rosemary may well be leaving.
It's a completely different game for me, and it's not a game I would have ever joined.
Right.
And Dr. Stevenson and his family are not the only ones talking about leaving.
You're not going to let me in?
I said I'm not a part of the project, so put the camera down.
It's a very sad day for me, and it will be a very sad day for me if he was to, you know, really leave. I'd be really devastated.